Welcome back, everyone. Back to All Aboard with Rob Belliveau. I'm Rob Belliveau, and you're listening to a podcast where we explore the frontiers of online learning, educational technology, and the human stories that drive innovation in education. It's hard to believe, but we're here doing a year in review wrap, the first year in review wrap that we've ever done. And you know, what an incredible season it's been for season 2 of All Aboard with Rob Belliveau. We've had the privilege of sitting down with so many unique and innovative minds in education this year. It's truly unbelievable. I think back to how privileged I am to have these folks share their stories, share their knowledges, and share their experiences with all of you listeners. From AI revolutionizing classrooms to community building digital spaces and ending illiteracy, making learning accessible for everyone, we've covered it all. Today's special year in review, we're going to look back at some of these conversations that we've had and the lessons that we've learned. And hopefully you've taken some lessons from those episodes. And even today in the year in review, we'll summarize some of those and maybe you'll take something else from it as well. As you know, we like to have people leave the podcast with time well spent and something that helps them in their profession, in their education, or in their teachings. So grab your coffee, settle in, and we'll take this journey together over the next few minutes and talk about some of the highlights from this year, and hopefully you'll get something from it.
The Technology Revolution.
Let's start where so many of the conversations started this year, with technology transforming how we teach and learn. Back in episode 1, I remember talking to Colleen Sandquist from ReadSpeaker and how she helped open our eyes to the world of assistive technology. And as you may recall from that episode, Colleen talked about AI-generated voices and text-to-speech technology. She wasn't just discussing tools, she was talking about empowerment. She shared something that really stuck with me this year. It's about empowering learners to become their very best academic selves. And I just think that quote is so powerful. And whether it's learners in a classroom or employees in a company or participants in a program, we all want to make them their best selves in whatever it is we're trying to teach them on. And these technologies are helping do that. Really, though, the other part that a lot of people are fearful right now is, will this technology replace humans? And I think we've heard, and we'll hear this multiple times today, that it's not to replace the human element, but to amplify the human potential. And this theme came up as an amplifier with Reed Dixon in episode 5 from Pima Community College. He had a great way of describing AI as a learning companion. So not as a replacement for teachers, but a partner in the educational journey. And I just thought it was so incredible how he shared some personal stories about using AI for his own health personally and his own learning, which really brought to point that these aren't just abstract concepts. They're tools that are really changing lives right now. And for anyone who's trepidatious about getting in on it, try using these tools just to help your personal life, let alone your professional life, and you may see the rendering of that, and then you'll feel more comfortable using it in your professional life. And that was one of the lessons that Reed certainly talked to us about. That carries on again in episode 10 when we talked to Courtney Hannah Benson from Western University and gave us a reality check that I think we all really needed. Yes, AI and digital tools are powerful, but as Courtney reminded us, we need to maintain that human-centered approach. And I think that's so important as we talk about the adoption of any technical tool, whether it's Brightspace, which is the tool that weaves most of our guests together, or whether it's these assistive technologies. We're going to let that blooper stay in there because I'm not perfect, and that's okay. The technology should serve the pedagogy and not the other way around. And Western's transition to Brightspace wasn't just about switching platforms. It was about intentionally choosing technology that empowers both faculty and the students. What I really love about these conversations is how they all circle back to the core truth. Technology is only as good as the humans and the purposes that we put it forward to do. So we are still in control, folks. We are still in control of this technology. And the more we adopt it, I truly believe, the more we will be able to empower and unleash the potential of so many learners out there.
Breaking down barriers.
Now, if there's one thing that really fires me up more than technology, and technology really fires me up, it's seeing barriers come down. And boy, did we have some powerful conversations this season about accessibility and inclusion this year. I think back to episode 9 with Dr. Sambhavi Chandra Shekra. Sorry, there we go. Or Dr. Sam, as we all call her for some obvious reasons there. It was honestly one of those conversations that changes how you see the world. And I have known Dr. Sam for several years and have talked to her well before the podcast. And every time I talk to her, I learn something new. Here's someone who discovered the meaning of dyslexia through her own journey and became a global leader for inclusion in education. And, she said something that I've quoted probably 100 times. When we design for accessibility, we design for everyone. And so, as we as educators or constructors of curriculum think about this, it's not having accessibility as the afterthought that needs to be polished and put in at the end. If you think about it at the beginning, you're going to have a better outcome right off the start. It's not about special accommodations. Universal design is what makes learning better for everyone. If we think about that at the beginning, it really makes us actually produce material easier as we go down the production line. So that was a really powerful conversation. That brings us into a connection to episode 4 with Aaron Steele from Halifax Learning. And Aaron and Halifax Learning have been longtime learning providers with Neon Train. And talk about a bold mission. They have a bold mission to ending illiteracy across Nova Scotia and Canada. I don't know about you, but that sounds like a big task. But I can tell you they're taking it head on and they're making some incredible inroads in that. Halifax Learning has been using their spell read program since 1996. And when they partner with us at Neon Train to bring their methods using online tools and techniques using Brightspace, something really magical happened. Their reach exploded. So they were able to impact smaller groups and smaller folks when they were doing it all in person or using kind of virtual classrooms. But when they got with us, they were able to access so many more communities that they had never been able to access before. And, what really struck me with Erin was when she talked about the Right to Read report, which is how policy initiatives are finally catching up that things that educators have known for years. Everyone deserves access to literacy and education. It's not a privilege, it's a right. And so their mission is bold, but they're using these technologies to help deliver it. And I think that's truly motivating for me. And it's one of the reasons Neon Train's in business is to help these small and medium-sized organizations, reach every learner as far away as they can. This goes back though again to Read Speaker. We talked to Colleen and we talked about how she is a strong advocate for universal design learning, and they're not buzzwords, folks. These are actual people looking to create educational experiences where everyone gets a seat at the table, or in Neon Train, everyone gets a spot on board. So, think about that in your organization. Think about what you're doing to break down barriers to the learners. Think about the challenges some of your employees or learners have. And are you really, truly thinking about accessibility at the forefront or at the afterthought? Get it to the forefront, and I think you'll find you'll have some results.
The power of community.
Talking about having everyone on board, let's talk about community, because 2025 taught us it is about community, and it's not about learning that has to happen in isolation. Episode 2 with Layla Zaya from Toronto Centre for Learning and Development was really eye-opening. When they moved their training online, they didn't just replicate their in-person programs, they reimagined them. And here's the kicker. When they reimagined them, they weren't sure what the outcome was going to be, but their learner engagement went up. Now, for those of us in online learning, when properly crafted programs are done in the right methodologies with the right thought, we know this, but they didn't know it and they experienced it. And that was really, really fun for me to watch. Operational efficiency improved. Community building in the digital age isn't just about possibilities. When done right, it can be more powerful than traditional approaches. Again, something many of us in online learning for a while have known, but something that Layla and the team put into practice and actually saw the outcome. This really resonated with what Dr. Emma Zone shared with me in episode 7. Senior Director of Academic Affairs was on the podcast. This was so cool. Emma has a bird's eye view of online learning trends, and she emphasized something so crucial: the power of community in education. It's not about the technological platform. Not at all. It's about creating spaces where learners connect, support each other, and grow together. What a crazy thought, huh? Online learning can bring those people together like never before. And all these tools that we talk about in a variety of episodes, all episodes, whether it's season 1 or season 2, are all meant to serve up ideas and opportunities for you as educators to consider putting in that recipe for what's best for your learners. Then we move on to talking about the storytelling aspect. So we've talked about community, we've talked about tech, and now we're going to talk about storytelling and how that has an aspect in community building. Episode 8, Afton Brazzoni from Scribe National reminded us at the heart of every community are stories. And if you think about all of your different areas of subject matter expertise that you're trying to teach people and convey, there's always stories. There's real life stories of what that potential outcome could mean if the learner adopts the practice, the theory, or the knowledge that you're trying to convey. Afton has this gift for transforming even the driest content. And she's seen some dry content from me over the years, and she made it look amazing, into engaging, impactful material. And why? Because stories connect us. They make abstract concepts real. And the more that we can infuse this in our learning, I truly believe the more we'll have learners have that achievement, talking about unleashing their power even more and more. These stories turn information into transformation. And I think that that's what we've seen in that episode. I really encourage you to go back and listen to that. But then storytelling continues. And in episode 3, Reese Waters from Podstarter, such an incredible guest, the art of podcasting, really, truly a leader in this entire sphere. I encourage you to look him up. We talked about the evolution of podcasting in education, and that podcasting isn't just for information transfer. Well, they do that, and I think they do that quite well. They're about creating intimate learning experiences. And when somebody puts their headphones and listens to a podcast, you're joining a community of learners. You're a part of something bigger. And hopefully this journey of podcasts that you've been with us for 2025 and possibly the season before, you feel like you're in a community of learners with all of us. Because even I learn on these podcasts as I go, which has been one of the most enjoyable things that I could say about putting time into podcasts. I get to learn too.
Lessons from the front lines.
Episode 6, folks. This was a really important podcast episode for me. Very personal. I had the privilege of sitting down with my former supervisor and mentor, John McLean from the Halifax Fire Department, not from the movie Die Hard. John's 30-plus year career in firefighting and emergency services gives him a perspective that many of us in edtech don't necessarily have. When John talked about the evolution from PowerPoint to digital platforms in the fire department, he wasn't talking about convenience. He was talking about life and death. And, having worked with John for many years, I can say that his mentorship and supervision of me was always something I definitely cherished. And having him on this podcast to talk a bit about the journey that we had together was really cool. When we look at this, proper training saves lives. That's an impactful statement, but it's true in the fire department. It's true in many emergency services. It's true in many high-risk occupations. And when e-learning revolutionized recruit training and departmental assessments, it meant firefighters were better prepared, more knowledgeable, and ultimately more effective at protecting their communities. Who'd have thought an online learning platform could help provide that type of community benefit? But in Halifax, that's what it did, and that's what it continues to do. What really struck me about John's conversation was his emphasis on visionary leadership in technological change. And that's a big sentence, but you can have all the best tools in the world, but without leaders who truly understand what is behind the change, why we're changing, and how they can inspire their teams to embrace that change, the learning won't happen. The change won't happen. And you're not going to get very far. When I was in Halifax and I was part of that technological change, I can tell you I always felt empowered and supported by my leaders. And that was a big part of change management, of making that project work. It connects us back to Courtney again, though. So we're going all around here, folks. We're going all around all the episodes. You're going to have to fish them out of all the season. But Courtney, again, with Western Universities, they had a transition this year too. And it wasn't just about picking a new LMS. It was about having leaders who understood that this change needs to be intentional, it needs to be thoughtful, and always centered around the learner experience. So whether we're talking about a fire department in Halifax or a university in Ontario, the technological change to the front line is super impactful, but we'll always need that leadership stakeholder support. And I think that's a big takeaway for anyone listening today.
The bigger picture.
As I look back on all these conversations, some clear themes that I think will really shape education for years to come really emerged. One is the democratization of learning. And whether it's Halifax Learning reaching rural communities with literacy programs or Toronto Centre expanding access through online learning, ReadSpeaker making content more accessible through text-to-speech, we're seeing the walls come down. Geographic barriers, physical disabilities, learning differences, technology is helping overcome all these obstacles that once seemed insurmountable. As I think about democratization of learning, then I think about the importance of human-centered design. Every single guest this year, whether they were talking about AI, accessibility, or online platforms, emphasized that technology should enhance the human connection, not replace it. Reed Dixon's concept of AI as a learning companion, Dr. Sam's universal design principles, and Dr. Emma Zone's focus on community, they all point to the same truth. Education is fundamentally about human growth and connection. Technology wasn't in that sentence, and I think that's what's really important. We can maintain our human-centered approaches to all parts of education and using technology just as that additional tool in the toolbox, which many of us do every day. To best leverage that human-centered approach and human-centered design, we move into that third theme I think that's emerged, which is really the power of storytelling and communication. From Rees Waters discussing podcasting as an educational tool to Afton showing how stories can transform dry content, we've seen how narrative and the voice can make learning stick. Even this podcast, All Aboard, is a testament to the fact that sometimes the best way to explore complex ideas is through conversation and story. And hopefully you found our podcast over these past couple seasons is very conversational and about storytelling and about connection and not just lecturing. I think as we think about maybe a fourth theme that came out of this year, which was throughout probably every episode, there was some touch point about it, is the critical importance around accessibility and inclusion. And whether we're talking about assistive technology, literacy programs, or universal design, the message was, I think, pretty clear. Education must be for everyone, or it fails in the most fundamental purpose. And we know as we try to tackle larger societal issues that are around us every day, many of the roots and truths that can be overcome are through education.
Looking forward.
So where do we go from here? What did 2025 teach us about the future of learning? I think Colleen's words about empowering learners to become their best academic selves serves a point forward. It's not about the technology, it's about the potential. And every tool we develop, every platform we build, every program we create should be measured by, I think, one simple question. Does this help learners reach their full potential? These conversations we've had this year have shown us that the future of education is collaborative, it's inclusive, and it's deeply human. Yes, we have AI, it's around us, we have advanced platforms, we have amazing tools, but at the center of it all are learners and educators working together, supporting each other, breaking down barriers, and building communities of practice. If we all do that, all learners will benefit. We at Neon try and continue to partner with D2L, which is short for Desire to Learn, and work with incredible learning providers and organizations across North America. I'm more optimistic than ever about where education is heading. As we wrap up, no pun intended at Christmas, this year in review, I want to thank each and every one of our guests who shared their wisdom, their stories, and their passion with us. Colleen, Layla, Rees, Aaron, Reed, John, Emma, Afton, Dr. Sam, and Courtney, you've enriched our understanding and inspired our community. To the listeners, all of you out there who for some reason decide to listen to me once a month for 22 to 24 minutes, thank you for joining us on this journey. Your engagement, your questions, your feedback, and your commitment to improving education makes this podcast really what it is. You're not just passengers on our train. You're part of the crew that keeps us moving forward. I will stop with the train jokes at some time, folks, but just not today. As we look forward to 2026, I'm excited about the conversations that we're going to have, the innovators we're going to bring into the podcast booth, and all those thoughtful discussions that are going to continue to move online learning forward as an educational technology, as a storytelling vehicle, and as a way to help learners reach all of their potentials. At Neon Train, we do believe in a village mentality. We're all in this together. Education isn't just about individual achievement. It's about lifting up our communities and ensuring everyone has the opportunity to learn and grow. I hope you've enjoyed this year in review. We've got lots of takeaways. I even remembered things that I forgot about going through that I'm going to take back and put into practice. As always, if you have any feedback or questions about today's session, you can reach us at allaboard@neontrain.com. And I'm going to finish off the year by just reminding you to stay curious and stay connected. We'll see you back next season.